a living legend in the world of boxing, the greatest boxer of his generation. Many people draw the line and say he is the greatest boxer of all time, mentioned in the
Terence Crawford to the ring, and Crawford now makes his big entrance to this huge... He was kicked out of 5 schools for fighting. I wonder what that... All around the arena, people standing up to take their own videos. And they're
introducing the undefeated, the one and only Floyd Mayweather.
Terence Crawford.
Floyd Mayweather just shocked the boxing world. Again, Floyd Mayweather has done it again. The undefeated icon, famously known as TBE, the best ever, has just sent shockwaves through the boxing world with a move no one saw coming. In a twist that no one predicted, Mayweather has publicly challenged none other than Terence Crawford, arguably the current pound-for-pound king. But here's the big question. Is this a serious call-out, or just vintage Mayweather playing the media like a fiddle? It all started during what was supposed to be a relaxed interview, just 2 legends reflecting on their legacies, their impact on boxing, and what the future holds. But as always, Floyd had something else in mind. Never one to miss a headline, Mayweather quickly reminded everyone of his iconic 50-0 record, his unmatched ring IQ, and his belief that no fighter, past or present, can truly compare. Then, he dropped the bomb. You and I can get in there and settle this once and for all. Just like that, the mood changed. Crawford, cool and collected, didn't take the bait. He simply responded with a smirk, and honestly, why would he? His eyes are locked in on what might be the biggest challenge of his career. A legacy-defining showdown with Canelo Alvarez this September. Still, Mayweather's challenge is impossible to ignore. With Crawford versus Canelo already generating massive hype, Floyd's sudden interest in stepping into the ring with today's top dog has everyone talking. So what's really going on? Is Floyd seriously considering stepping back into the ring to face one of today's elite active champions? Or is this just another classic Money May move, stirring the pot, grabbing headlines, and maybe setting up one last massive payday? Let's be honest, Mayweather hasn't fought in a real, sanctioned bout since 2015. Since then, it's been flashy exhibitions, global spectacles, and huge checks, while carefully protecting that flawless 50-0 record. Could he really come back for a real fight against a dangerous, prime monster like Crawford? Whether it's genuine or not, one thing's for sure. Mayweather's challenge has reignited a timeless debate. What would happen if Floyd faced a prime elite fighter from today's generation? And perhaps the bigger question, does Terence Crawford even care? With his eyes set on Canelo and boxing immortality, but might not even look Floyd's way. But in true Mayweather fashion, he's reminded the world of one thing. When Floyd talks, boxing listens. Is Floyd Mayweather still in Bud Crawford's path, or just a distraction? With what might be the biggest challenge of his career already in motion, Terence Bud Crawford is laser-focused. A looming showdown with Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed king at 168 pounds, is set to be the defining moment of Crawford's storied career. So where does Floyd Mayweather fit into all this? From Mayweather's perspective, the answer is simple. In his mind, he is the greatest, period. An undefeated, 5-division world champion. A master tactician with an untouchable boxing IQ. His place in history? Set in stone. Or so he believes. But not everyone sees it that way. Especially not Terence Crawford. Crawford isn't just a modern great. He's carved out a legacy that rivals any fighter in the last 2 decades. A 3-division world champion and the first boxer ever to become undisputed in 2 separate weight classes. Bud is a rare mix of speed, power, and elite-level ring IQ. He switches stances mid-fight like it's nothing. He adapts in real time. And he finishes opponents with surgical precision. He's not just confident, he's proven. And when it comes to Mayweather, he's made it clear. He believes he can beat him. That belief isn't just talk. It's backed by years of dominance. Even his trainer, Brian Bowman McIntyre, has gone on record. Yes, Floyd had one of the highest boxing IQs of all time. But Crawford's adaptability, aggression, and ability to close the show would eventually break down even the most defensively sound fighter. But Mayweather isn't backing down. In true Money May fashion, he threw down the gauntlet with one bold statement. "You and I can get in there and settle this once and for all." The tension in the room? Palpable. Crawford didn't flinch. He's seen this before. He knows not every Mayweather soundbite turns into a signed contract. And with Floyd years removed from fighting an elite, active champion, but likely doesn't see this as a fight worth chasing, at least not right now. Still, that's the thing about Floyd. Whether he's serious or just stirring the pot, he always gets people talking. And in boxing, sometimes that's all it takes to make something real. Meanwhile, Crawford's eyes are on something far bigger. A legacy-defining clash with Canelo Alvarez this September. This isn't just another mega fight. It's a collision of eras, two undisputed champions, two elite technicians, one epic moment in boxing history. For Crawford, this isn't about money or fame. It's about greatness. It's about history. Unlike Mayweather, who carefully crafted his legacy, rarely fighting with a size disadvantage, Crawford is taking the ultimate risk. He's leaping up 2 weight classes to face a natural super middleweight in Canelo. Canelo, renowned for his brutal power, slick counters, and dominance across multiple divisions, is no easy task. Crawford, who built most of his career between 135 and 147 pounds, now steps into a division where Canelo hasn't just competed, he's crushed elite competition. The size gap is massive. The risk? Even bigger. But for Crawford, this is the fight that could elevate him beyond Mayweather and into boxing immortality. Canelo versus Crawford, skill versus strength, legacy versus noise. Canelo Alvarez isn't just a natural 168-pounder. He's thrived even at light heavyweight, holding his own against giants and bullying some of the sport's biggest names. So now, as Terence "Bud" Crawford prepares to take the biggest risk of his career, the boxing world is split. Can Crawford's technical brilliance, lightning-fast footwork, and surgical precision truly neutralize Canelo's relentless pressure, brutal body shots, and raw power over 12 intense rounds? Some believe he can. They point to Bud's elite ring IQ, his ability to adjust mid-fight, and his defensive sharpness. They believe he's got the tools to do what no one else has done: outbox Canelo cleanly. But others aren't so sure. They worry that even Crawford's mastery won't be enough against Canelo's sheer strength, granite chin, and relentless forward march. And as always, no major Canelo conversation is complete without Floyd Mayweather jumping into the spotlight. In classic Mayweather fashion, he didn't hesitate to downplay Canelo's entire resume, reminding everyone that he already exposed the Mexican Star back in 2013. He was nothing. A cakewalk. Easy, Floyd boasted, brushing off Canelo's evolution since their fight and suggesting that Crawford is wasting his time chasing a battle that Mayweather claims he already settled a decade ago. According to Floyd, the real challenge isn't Canelo. It's him. Mayweather's long-standing rivalry with Canelo has always had tension, but now it's crystal clear. Floyd doesn't just want to stay relevant, he wants the spotlight back. And he's trying to pull Crawford into his orbit to get it. Legacy versus business. Crawford's defining crossroads, yes, Floyd may. Whether comfortably outfoxed a 23-year-old Canelo Alvarez back in 2013. But that wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Since then, Canelo's career has exploded. He's won titles in 4 weight classes, beaten elite competition, and become one of the biggest superstars in global boxing. He's not just a fighter anymore. He's a brand, a legacy, a force of nature. Still, Mayweather isn't one to hand out compliments. He often downplays Canelo's accomplishments, lumping him in with a list of fighters he calls easy work, opponents he believes he would have always beaten with ease. And now, with Crawford daring to face Canelo, Floyd is trying to hijack the moment, casting doubt on Canelo's greatness and positioning himself as the true fight Bud should take. But here's the real question. Would Crawford gain more by fighting Mayweather than Canelo? On paper, sure. Even an exhibition bout with Floyd would be a financial juggernaut. Massive PPV numbers, astronomical payday, instant headlines. But when it comes to legacy, the equation changes. Floyd is 47, long retired, and hasn't faced a top-tier opponent since 2015. Canelo, on the other hand, is still at the top, an active, undisputed champion, taking on the best and adding to an already Hall of Fame resume. For Crawford, the choice is clear. Beating Mayweather? It makes noise. Beating Canelo? It makes history. Mayweather versus Crawford. A $300 million mirage? For Terence Crawford, a victory over Canelo Alvarez wouldn't just be a headline, it would be history. It's legacy over money. But for Floyd Mayweather? This latest call-out doesn't feel like a genuine competitive challenge. It feels calculated, strategic. A classic Mayweather move: hijack the narrative, steal the spotlight, and stay relevant, without risking the zero. And make no mistake, when it comes to generating boxing buzz, Floyd still knows exactly how to insert himself into the biggest stories. Because if there's one thing fans have learnt about Mayweather, it's this: he doesn't lace up the gloves unless the check is life-changing. The money equation: Mayweather's real target. Canelo's recent $150 million multi-fight deal sent shockwaves through boxing. And you better believe Floyd noticed. For a man who built an empire branding himself as the sport's biggest financial draw, that number is impossible to ignore. After all, Mayweather has always taken pride in being the face of boxing's financial Mount Rushmore. His 2015 mega fight with Manny Pacquiao pulled in over $300 million. 2 years later, the spectacle with UFC's Conor McGregor earned him another estimated $275 million. So now, with Crawford in the mix and Canelo cashing historic checks, the question is, what would it take to bring Mayweather back against Bud? If history is any guide, Floyd's logic is simple. If Canelo's making $150 million, I should be making at least double that. That puts the price tag at north of $300 million, a wild figure for a fight that may not even generate the mainstream appeal of Mayweather versus Pacquiao or McGregor. And here lies the problem. Yes, hardcore fans would love to see Mayweather versus Crawford. Two unbeaten masters of the craft. A fantasy clash of styles and IQs. But the casual audience, the millions needed to drive massive PPV sales, may not show up the same way. Floyd has been retired nearly a decade. And while Crawford is revered in boxing circles, he hasn't crossed into global superstardom like Canelo, Pacquiao, or McGregor. The $300 million question. Can this fight even happen? Let's be real. A fight of this scale isn't just about two fighters agreeing to meet in the ring. It's about money, promotion, control, politics. Canelo's $150 million deal is backed by major players, DAZN and PBC, who see him as a proven pay-per-view magnet. Mayweather? He's no longer tied to any major promotion. He's focused on exhibition bouts with YouTubers and retired MMA fighters, cashing easy checks and protecting the zero. A sanctioned, real fight against Crawford would require an astronomical commitment, and the belief that it could break records. But here's the hard truth. Floyd Mayweather is 47. The sport has changed. The fan base has changed. And convincing people to drop $100 plus on a pay-per-view featuring a retired legend versus an active pound-for-pound king is a much tougher sell than it once was. Even if all sides wanted it, the business would be a nightmare. Just look at Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Years of failed negotiations, ego clashes, network wars, and legal hurdles. And that was when both fighters were active. Mayweather would demand full control, promotions, purse split, PPV cut, venue, everything. And of course, he'd insist on being the A-side in every aspect of the deal. So the real question becomes, is it even worth it? From a boxing purist standpoint, absolutely. Two of the best to ever do it. A fantasy fight for the ages. But this isn't 2015. There's no decade-long build-up. No deep personal rivalry. No global anticipation bubbling over. Crawford, for all his greatness, hasn't crossed over into mainstream superstardom. And without the casuals, the lifeblood of massive PPV sales, how do you justify a $300 million payday? This might not be a dream fight. It might just be a dream, for one man looking to keep his throne not in the ring, but at the bank. Title: Mayweather vs. Crawford vs. Canelo, the ultimate boxing showdown. Script: a $300 million investment becomes nearly impossible to justify, and that's the bottom line. Floyd Mayweather won't step into the ring unless the purse shatters records. But unless a promoter is willing to roll the dice with hundreds of millions on a fight that's not guaranteed to break pay-per-view records, it may all remain just that, a fantasy fight. Crawford versus Mayweather? Crawford versus Canelo? Which one truly matters? As the boxing world buzzes over Floyd Mayweather's surprise call-out of Terence "Bud" Crawford, one question slices through all the noise. Which fight is the real main event? The bigger spectacle? The one that shapes the sport's future? On the surface, both matchups are massive. Both come with high stakes. But they appeal to very different audiences and tell very different stories. A showdown between Crawford and Canelo is a collision of two active, dominant champions. One is daring to leap up 2 weight classes to chase greatness. The other is defending his undisputed throne against arguably the most complete fighter of this generation. It's about legacy, risk, and glory. It's a real fight, with real belts, real consequences, and real fireworks. Meanwhile, Mayweather versus Crawford would be something else entirely. It would be about history, about spectacle, a generational clash between an undefeated legend and today's pound-for-pound king. Let's be clear, Floyd hasn't fought in a real, sanctioned pro bout since 2017. His recent exhibitions? More entertainment than elite competition. But make no mistake, when Floyd speaks, boxing listens. His name alone creates headlines. His presence sells out arenas. A fight against Crawford would instantly become one of the most talked about events in sports, no matter how long Floyd's been out of the game. But here's the catch. Would it actually surpass Crawford versus Canelo in excitement, legacy, or impact? For hardcore boxing fans, probably not. As historic as Mayweather versus Crawford would be, it lacks the championship stakes and the competitive intensity that Crawford versus Canelo brings. Canelo is still in his prime. He's the face of boxing. A win over him would cement Crawford's legacy and possibly elevate him above everyone, including Floyd. On the flip side, Mayweather's name still dominates business. His fights always break records and make noise far beyond boxing circles. Even his exhibition with Logan Paul, a bout with no official winner, drew millions of views and sparked global conversation. So here's the decision. Crawford versus Canelo equals legacy. Challenge. Risk. Glory. Crawford versus Mayweather equals spectacle. History. Headlines. Only one will shape boxing's future. The other, a chance to rewrite the past, if only for one night. Mayweather versus Crawford, fight of the century, or just another what if? There's no denying the hype. If Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford actually signed a real, sanctioned pro fight, it could be one of the biggest selling events in boxing history. The name value alone could shatter records. But let's be real, would Floyd actually take it seriously? Or is this just another ultra-lucrative exhibition dressed up as a legacy-defining moment? If it's real, the price tag would be outrageous. Canelo just locked in a $150 million deal. You think Floyd settles for anything less than double that? That's not how he rolls. Mayweather's whole brand is built on being the highest-paid athlete in boxing history. And he's not letting Canelo steal that crown without a fight. But here's the real issue. Is there a promoter on earth willing to gamble $300 million on a fight with no title on the line? Boxing's landscape has changed. Today's mega events rely on streaming deals, pay-per-view splits, and network partnerships. With no belts and a 47-year-old Floyd who's long retired, the risk may outweigh the reward. That's why the safe bet? Another exhibition. No judges. No official decision. No risk to his perfect 50-0. All the spotlight, none of the consequences. And if Floyd can pocket tens or hundreds of millions from what's basically a glorified sparring session, why take a real fight? But let's dream for a second. Prime versus prime, now that's a fantasy. Mayweather, the ultimate technician. Uncrackable defense. Elite IQ. Crawford, the modern chameleon. Switches stances mid-round. Power. Pressure. Adaptability. Could Floyd's slick defense nullify Bud's attack? Or would Crawford's relentless style crack the code no one else could? We'll never truly know. That's the heartbreak of fantasy matchups. They live in our imaginations, on forums, in barbershops, and YouTube comment sections. But these debates? They're what keep boxing alive. So now it's your turn. Would Mayweather versus Crawford be bigger than Crawford versus Canelo? Is Floyd serious, or just chasing headlines and one last payday? And who wins the ultimate pound-for-pound showdown? Prime Floyd or Prime Bud? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. And stay locked in, because in boxing, whether it's legacy, money, or pure myth-making, this sport never stops swinging.